Hello, my name is Steve, the Affordable Life Coach. If you're interested, my email's in the description. Consultation is absolutely free, and the sessions afterwards are ridiculously affordable. We all have different personality types, and I'm constantly learning and growing and evolving as a life coach and just in my own personal life. And I've had some very interesting conversations recently. People generally don't like to be challenged. And especially in our society and culture today, they tend to get more defensive, put up the walls, blame the person that's doing the challenging. And they say they want honest communication, but what honest communication is put forth, then that's a different thing. And I think we all need to find our own balance on where we are on that spectrum. Do we really want the truth? Do we want people just to agree with what we're saying? Do we want to confirm what we already believe? And a lot of people do want that. They want somebody that is going to be soft, empathetic, and even with in my coaching clients, some clients I'm just not a good fit and they're not a good fit for me, and they want someone that is going to be more agreeable with everything they say, even if it's holding them back, even if it challenges a self-limiting belief system. And it's strong personality types like generally like passive people. I think strong personality types with some insecurities, like people that are passive and meek and more agreeable. It's just promoted in our culture and our society is that it's almost taken as a compliment. Oh, he's so agreeable, or she's so agreeable, or he's so kind and nice and sweet and empathetic and understanding. And I feel like in my life, that's not what I want. And I had some very constructive feedback from a client, and I was challenging some of the things he said, and some of the things he said I could see for his case specific case that he had some valid points. But no, things are not all or nothing. And when we have communications, I even had a similar conversation with a very close friend that I've known for a long time. And you get to see where a person stands when how receptive they are to when they're being challenged. And it doesn't mean that we have to agree, but I look at it as like a dance or like even a wrestling match, that you come out stronger when you can have some friction in the conversations, when we could tell the truth and we could feel free to tell the truth. And with some personality types, they're not going to receive that, or they're going to run away, or they're going to judge you as you are the problem and not take any accountability and ownership. And for some clients, I completely understand I'm not a good fit. It's strange. It's not strange, but it just shows everybody has a different desire out of coaching. Many of my clients have said, oh, I've been to therapists and I've been with other coaches, and they're quiet, agree, they take notes, and just listen. And they don't really challenge anything I say. They don't really push me outside of my comfort zone. And it's a safe environment. And I've been in those situations as well on the receiving end. And to me, it's stagnation. It's just really, it's dull, and it's not iron sharpening iron. And I get it. Some people are just looking for someone to listen and be passive and not offer solutions and not give constructive feedback. And so if I have to be more aware and more sensitive in my personal life and my coaching life when I'm dealing with those personality types. And I always struggle with, do I hold back and be more accommodating in the argument in personal relations and coaching relations? Because the argument could be made, well, yes, because that's how you build rapport and that's how you build a connection. And some people just need to have someone that is not going to speak their truth, speak from the heart, speak how they honestly feel about things. Man, I find that it just doesn't work for me. And so there's incompatibility with clients. It doesn't happen very often. It happens occasionally, because most people seek out a coach because they want to be challenged. They want to hear the truth. They want to grow. They want to open up. They want to have uncomfortable conversations. They want to feel that they have a safe space to be vulnerable. And even them communicating how we get there is extremely beneficial, and in friendships and relationships. I guess I'll say it like this, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. I find most conversations and talking with most people, it's very dry and very dull and superficial. And I just like to dive in the deep end. And as I've said in previous videos, well, you can't do that right away. It takes time and you have to build a bridge. But the takeaway is, just because there is friction doesn't mean there's incompatibility. I don't know what that was about. Just because there's friction does not mean there's incompatibility. Some of my best relationships and some of my best coaching sessions have come through friction. There's tension. There's a back and forth. There's an expression from a heartfelt place, not from an analytical place, where we're, okay, yes, oh, I agree with you, and that must be hard for you, and we'll work through it. It's just, it's for me, it rings inauthentic. And so many people in my life have, and my clients have appreciated the level of honesty and the level of truth. It's almost, it's like sets them free, because they don't hear that level of honesty and truth. And some people just can't handle it. I get that. But if there's not friction, what do you have? It's kind of like when I was learning to ski. You're not falling down. You're not trying hard enough. And I'm not talking about yelling and screaming at each other, but having heated discussions, having open, honest, authentic conversations, and most importantly, where you're able to take on what the other person says. And it's a skill set. Most people's defenses are so high, they can't even hear, and they get so emotional that they just tune out, and they're so attached to what they believe or what they're saying. And I have to be vigilant that I don't fall in that trap. I'm sure I fall in that trap as well. And I try to learn from it. I try to grow from it. But I can't be someone I'm not. And my richest, deepest connections come from that level of open, honest communication. But it's really hard to find especially in friends, other people, like a circle of people that like that type of dialogue. And why can't we also disagree and not let it divide us? What my friend was talking about, we have a different opinion about politics in certain areas. We agree in a lot of things. But when I challenge some of his beliefs, he'll get angry, and he'll get frustrated to the point where he shuts down the conversation. And like, let's keep the conversation going. And thankfully he's open, and he acknowledges it. But we shouldn't feel like we have to walk on eggshells with people. And we shouldn't have to change who we are. And some clients that I have, and even some family, some friends, I realize that I censor myself to a small degree. I really try to weed it out, but I calculate what I'm going to say before I say it, because I know how defensive they can get and how they'll pick apart anything that is not exactly as worded exactly right. So you have to like soften it and word it and put sugar on it and couch it in a way that you feel they'll be receptive to it. Because some people just have a lot of anger, some people have a lot of fear, some people have a lot of insecurities, some people just don't want to open up and explore that part of their being. And when we're in relationships where we are censoring or calculating what we are going to say, it's not a good sign. It really isn't. And when I have that come up in coaching sessions, it's not a good sign. And it's something that has to be communicated and talked about in a healthy, constructive way. But sometimes that's even hard, because the client will just push back and blame me. And it's always very often the person telling the truth is the one who's made to look like that bad guy. And it's not always the case, but it's when you start speaking from your heart and you start speaking, and I'm not talking about being rude or being aggressive or being hurtful. I'm just talking, most people can't handle truthful, radically honest conversations. It's sad. And then we can't understand why people get ghosted, or people pull away from you. Is because they don't feel safe to talk to you in an open way. And it is cowardly. It's a lot. It's fear. And when we don't speak truthfully to people, we're repressing and shutting down such an important part of who we are. Now, there's cases where you speak truthfully, the other speaks truthfully, and you're just not a good fit together. I get that. Or there's not a friendship there, or there's not a bond there. But we don't even give oftentimes an opportunity to get past that point. And people like to be approved of. They don't like constructive feedback generally. Their egos are fragile. There's a lot of insecurity. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of demands that we make. You need to talk to me this way. You need to treat me this way. And most people just give in to that, and then they can't understand why they don't feel confident, or they have social anxiety. It's like, just be yourself, and you, more often than not, you're going to get disapproved of. And that's why people do it, because they care more about approval than being truthful. And being truthful, or it means just holding back and not saying what you want to say. And I really appreciated my client today. He told me how he felt and was very honest with me, but it was like a one-way street. He wanted me to be honest, but he didn't want to receive or process or discuss it, my honest feedback in return. And it's too bad. It's too bad because I really felt like, man, there's so much value that he could get from coaching. But I walked away from it feeling good because I learned something. I learned from mistakes that I made and warning signs that I should have paid closer attention to. And hopefully he got some value out of it. And I will serve clients and people, relationships in my life so much better by being congruent with who I am and sticking to my value system and knowing that's going to come with some pushback, some rejection, some loss of clients. And that's beautiful. It's an okay thing as long as I learn from it and grow from it and see, hey, this is what I could have done differently to be more accommodating within what I'm willing, in ways that I'm willing to accommodate. But I just love clients and I love meeting people that you could be unfiltered. It is so liberating. And that was part of the thing that's challenging, is having sessions with clients where you have to have a filter, somewhat of a filter, and to know that they're truths that they just don't want to hear or can't handle hearing. But in our personal relationships, in our friendships, yeah, maybe we have to do that, make those compromises with coworkers. But it's a sense of freedom. It's a sense of exhilaration, like when I can have honest, open disagreements with people and we can have heated discussions and it brings us closer. Like those are the people to seek out in your life. The people who are going to tell you just straight to your face, just like it is, and not come from a place of fear. And now with how the political and cultural discourse is, people live in fear to have open, honest conversations. And we don't have to give in to that. We can be true to our hearts and express how we feel and have disagreements. But that's what makes life exciting. It's like we seek out a life of comfort, safety, and ease over uncertainty, over challenges, accomplishments that are real accomplishments, discomfort, moving towards our fears, speaking from the heart, speaking truth. We want things to be safe and easy, and that's just not edifying. It's not how we grow, and it's not how we build deep, meaningful connections. And it's how we chip away at who we truly are. How many times do people say, or even if they don't say, I don't know who I am? Well, we don't know who we are because we're walking a tightrope of not wanting to upset other people, of not wanting to fall off the tightrope. And it's just a dull, boring way to live. Taking risks in our lives is important, but it's also taking risks in our communication. And so many people, with all the censorship and with cancel culture, just shut it down. And it's a beautiful thing to see. It rarely happens this day and age. Someone from the left, someone the right, and they can have a constructive, non-angry and emotionally visceral conversation. And it becomes the glue that bonds people together. But when you don't feel like it's going to be received, or the person just gets defensive and pushes back and their wall goes up, it's a loss. It's a real loss of an opportunity for a meaningful, deep connection. Because how often do you meet someone like that? It's really rare. And I would love to hear your experiences. How often do you meet someone that is unfiltered, that just tells it like it is, that is, and again, I'm not talking about somebody's going around giving unsolicited advice, like, oh, telling someone, oh, you've gained 10 pounds, what's going on? It can come from a place of concern. If someone is gaining a lot of weight, you can say, hey, I'm really concerned about your health, or whatever the issue is. But if someone asks you, hey, do I look like I've gained weight? We're like, oh my God, I don't know. Or when someone asks, how old do you think I am? It's like you undercalculate what their age is because you're afraid of offending them. No, people need to be offended. People need to hear the truth, and we need to wean ourselves off of needing approval and playing it safe in our communication. It's just liberating, and that in itself becomes an adventure. It makes your life an adventure, and it's sad when that is shut down. And that's how I felt today during the session. That part of what would have been very valuable was completely shut down. And I get it, It's just, that's the way it rolls, and it's that not. In fact, most people are not looking for that type of communication. I hope that people that reach out to me for coaching have watched my videos and know that's something that's a strong value for me, is open, honest, direct communication, and coming to the coaching sessions, not to know you're not going to get a coach that's going to be soft, passive, and tell you what you want to hear, but is going to be tell you the truth. And to be reciprocated, tell me the truth, and we can grow from that. And when this client told me the truth, I grew from it. And looking back, I would handle it. I'd handle it a different way. Handle this particular client in a different way, because I sensed. I saw red flags from the beginning that I said, oh, we can overcome that, and he'll be able to get over that. And it wasn't to be. And I need to be more sensitive when people show red flags. I have some clients that they go on dates, and I'll mention something, or they're in a relationship and I'll mention something that is a huge red flag. Be aware. And they'll ignore it oftentimes. And then it might be 2 years plus later, 3 years later, and they break up. And they're like, oh yeah, you know what? I thought he would change, or I thought she would change, and I ignored the red flag. It's unless somebody's really committed to changing that part of themselves that is self-destructive or holds them back, or is an important value for you, they're not going to change. Generally, well, no, I'd say most of the time they're not going to change. And don't ignore red flags in relationships. Don't ignore red flags in jobs. And don't ignore red flags, especially when you're talking with someone that's defensive, that's angry, that can't handle constructive feedback, and that blames other people. that's a huge red flag. And if they're committed to working on it, okay. But if they're not committed to working on it, it brings a lot of baggage and a lot of tension and a lot of self-destruction. It's toxic in relationships, and it's toxic in communication. Anyways, if you're interested in being challenged and growing and evolving and having truthful, open, honest conversations, my email's in the description. The consultation's absolutely free, and then the sessions are ridiculously affordable afterwards. But man, it makes life exciting and adventurous. That's why I love my job so much. And when I can't be honest with people and direct with people, it is, I know it limits somewhat, it limits some of my enjoyment, but I also try to look at creative ways to communicate with them in a way that they'll be receptive. But in friendships and relationships, it's so enjoyable. And I think a lot of us are in ruts in our relationships, in our marriages, in our friendships, in our family. It's because we play it safe. Yeah, but just playing it safe it just doesn't do it for me. And I'm sure a lot of you who like my videos and my channel. So please comment, and you can give me honest feedback and let me know where you disagree, which points you disagree. And there's some of you that do disagree and push back, and I enjoy it. And we just have to, sometimes I have spent long chains in like old videos of going back and forth with people about whatever particular issue. And sometimes you have to really realize and wave the white flag when you recognize people, they're not open-minded, they're not going to change. And obviously with me too, them recognizing that in me. Hey, this is my viewpoint, this is my opinion. I'm not going to change, and that's okay. We could just, again, agree to disagree. Or also to kind of, I was having a political discussion with a friend that I was just talking about, and he said something that I've never heard it before, and it didn't sound like believable. Maybe it is, and I searched it, and I couldn't find supporting evidence to what he said, and so I'm still waiting to hear back, if he's found something to support what he says. But I think a lot of times we come from just emotional discussions. And I remember I had this is something that might be helpful. There was a person that was just like extreme on their political spectrum to the left. And we were having a discussion, and we both had our phones out, and we were fact-checking. We were fact-checking what we said, and I was fact-checking what she said. She was fact-checking what I said. And there's so much propaganda. It's even challenging sometimes to find accurate ways or sources to fact-check. But I loved the dynamic of that, of having conversations that are based on facts, based on truth, and not being emotionally attached to your viewpoint, and being open-minded. It's hard to find this day and age because I think social media has just so extremely divided us. But those are some of my thoughts. Be curious what your thoughts are. And if you made it to the end of this video, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to donate to the channel, there's a link in the description. And if you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe and share. And I appreciate you people that like unscripted, long form, low production value type of videos where I'm just communicating from my heart. And until next time, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.